Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like these videos. Thank you. This hive has a couple of queen cells. The ones at the bottom are swarm cells. I believe this hive has already swarmed. The weather's been kind of crazy here in Virginia, so I wasn't able to get out here. If they're up in the middle, they're usually supersedure cells. That's where they just need to get rid of the queen because they detect that there's something wrong with the queen. But when they're in the bottom, it's usually just a swarm cell. There's my queen. She's from last year. So I'll be requeening this hive. Actually, I'll be requeening all my hives except the very new one. This hive barely made it through the winter, and they're very, very low in numbers, so they're a little more aggressive than normal. They know that they're a weak hive, so they offset that by being more aggressive as soon as you open it. A brand new queen. They are trying to build some burr comb. That needs to be taken off because that's taught from generation to generation. Also, in a newly installed hive, don't move the frames around for the first year. Let them get used to their new house before you start rearranging frames. So I'll put these back in the exact place where I pulled them out. She's doing a really great job laying eggs. I'll try to take a close-up of them in just a moment. Yep, I'll burr comb. This is not something I expected to see with a brand new hive. Here's a supersedure cell. The queen looks healthy, the eggs look healthy, the pattern looks healthy. So maybe they just got impatient waiting for her to lay more. I don't know. I don't usually see a supersedure cell with a brand new installed hive. There is no egg in it right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and destroy that. Okay, this hive is actually full to the top. They have a nice laying queen. They're filling up all their frames, so it's time for me to put on a honey super. This is the first honey super of the spring, which means it's going to be my cut comb honey super. If you intend to do cut comb, that should go on first, because the wax that they make in the early spring seems to be more tender, and it's not as tough and chewy as it is in the later part of the year. Plus, because they're building so fast in the spring, it just has a tendency to do much better in the early spring. But you can't put all of them as a cut comb, because what will happen, if you don't have a foundation, they could build their combs this way across them. So to prevent that from happening, it's every other one. I have a brand new frame in here. This will be for extracted honey. It's plastic foundation. And then on either side, I have cut comb frames. These are plastic starter strips. They're nice to have, but you don't have to have them. That's why I brought this one out. This one is where I just took the little strip off of the frame and flipped it sideways. So now they have a little ridge. What that does is give them a guideline as to where to build, so that hopefully they don't go sideways. So I put those in there. And it's every other one to keep them from building crosswise. And then I'll just stick that on top of the hive. Oh, and another thing is, I don't like using queen excluders. I have used them in the past, and they've never done very well. One time a queen tried to come through one and got stuck in it. Okay, let's try that again. The wind just blew my phone over. I don't like using queen excluders. One time I had a queen get stuck in between the spaces and it killed her. Also, the bees don't like going through them either, and it can damage their wings as they travel through those wires. And I've done better by making a honey barrier. And what a honey barrier is, a queen will usually not break a honey barrier. And in the bottom two boxes of the hive is where all the brood is, and then I rearrange the hive so that everything in the top box is all honey frames. So she stays down in the bottom two laying her eggs, and she doesn't cross all the honey to go into an upper section in order to start laying eggs. One time that did not work. All the other times it has worked. And it gives all of the worker bees and the house bees free access to any of the boxes without having to climb through those little wires. And it just keeps her content in the bottom two boxes. So that's how I like to handle my honey supers, to keep her from laying eggs in the parts I don't want her laying eggs in. Just a quick tidbit, I did cover this in one of my other videos on the herbal side instead of the beekeeping side. In my beekeeping kit, I always carry some tape like this, some of the first aid tape. And the reason I do that is because when I get stung, I can take care of the sting right away. I have lots of plantain growing in my yard, which you can see right here. This is an awesome plant to use for stings, bites, cuts. It's very healing. All I do is pick a leaf, wipe it off, make sure there's nothing completely nasty on it, chew it up, put it on the sting, and then I put a little piece of that tape across it to hold it on there. Generally what will happen at that point, if it's taken me a couple of minutes to get some on and the sting has already started to fade, when you put it on it will start stinging again. This is a good sign because what is happening is that this plantain is pulling the toxins back out. So it burned once going in, it's burning twice coming out. So if it does start to sting, that usually indicates that it's pulling the toxins back out. My bee stings have a tendency to heal very quickly. Sometimes I get stung a lot when I'm working on my hives, especially if they're kind of aggravated. Sometimes I don't get stung at all. But this is a nice little plant for beekeepers to have.